What's good, YouTube? Mario Devon here for yet another video. So let's go ahead and get some straight right now. Y'all talk so much crap about this camera. You should be ashamed of yourselves, okay? It's almost like you had a personal vendetta against this camera, this Canon R6, okay? But we're gonna talk about it, okay? Y'all had mad squabbles with this thing. But I'm here to tell you, you're wrong, and that's okay. Hey man, it's okay when you're wrong sometimes. But you know, there are some ways you were actually right. I will be honest there, and we're gonna go through all of that, okay? So I've owned this camera for about a year, and I can tell you I put this thing through its paces. A lot of things been done with this thing. Substantial work has been put in with this thing. I've not only been using the R6 as one of my video cameras, it's also been a photography camera, but we'll get to the photography side at another time. We're gonna focus on the video settings, because that was the main thing y'all had the mad squabbles about. So we're gonna talk about that mainly. I use this Canon R6 for my client work. I also use it for a lot of my personal content creating, but believe it or not, I also use this thing for podcasting. Yes, I know, overheating and all, we're gonna get to that. So this is going to be my 1 year review of the Canon R6, again, because I've used this thing substantially, extensively, you know, throughout this year, and I really want to give you my feedback on what it's like. So we're gonna do some things different on this channel. I'm trying to figure out formatting, and we're gonna have this little thing, this new game we're gonna be playing called The Good, The Bad, and The Hideous. So let me break this down. So the good, I'm going to tell you all the good things about this camera, but I'm also going to tell you the bad things. And in those bad things, there are things that don't ruin the experience of the camera, but at the same time, there's things that I probably would change. Then the last thing we're going to talk about is the hideous. And these are things that are just, that I hate about the camera, and it slows me down or it gets in the way, like bottlenecks that really hold this camera back from being perfect. So good, number one, ergonomics. Okay, so ergonomically, this thing is perfect. It's a beefy camera. You think it's beefy, it looks small, it is small, but it's beefy. And what I mean is beefy in all the right places. All right, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about. It's you know what I'm saying. So when I put my hands here, it's a good grip, all right? And I got Shaquille O'Neal hands. I know I don't seem like it, but I got some pretty big hands. And with something like the Sony a7 III that I used to have, my hands, you know, that pinky would just be hanging out. That little piggy would just be living his life, all right? But with this, it's really, really sturdy, really beefy, okay? The other thing I love about it is the button placement. The button placement makes sense. So you have your joystick back, and that's great, because with the original R that I also own, that whole touchscreen, that little touchpad thing, that was ridiculous. I don't know who came up with that. I hope they still have their job, because wow, that was a terrible idea, but that's okay. Nonetheless, they've mitigated that and they fixed it. But I'm telling you, ergonomically, this thing has all the buttons where it needs to be. Even for video, if I'm trying to record, I would hold the camera here, but I can use my thumb here to actually just start recording. When I'm shooting photos, I can change here. Now I can change that grip, and now I can use my index finger to shoot photos. So they really thought this thing out ergonomically. So point number two is the 10-bit color and the color dynamics, the dynamic range, ridiculous on this camera for a mirrorless camera. All right, so let me make a confession, okay? Before this camera, I never shot log on any mirrorless camera ever.
Oh my God! Give me a camera, man. Give me a camera.
But listen, man, I like to push my colors, okay? When it comes to color grading, I like to push my colors. I like to push my colors like a bully on a bad day. That's my vibe, that's my style, that's my lifestyle, okay? So a huge benefit of this camera is having that 10-bit color and being able to just push the image however I want to. If I want to change a little bit of the tone or the hue or something, I can do that. But I can say that this camera has made me a substantially better colorist, okay? I can actually color grade to the point where people compliment me on my color grading, okay? It's just made me a better color grading artist, you know what I mean? If you use C-Log 3 especially, you can recover the shadows, a lot of details in the shadows. If you expose right, the highlights can be recovered, diffused. It just it looks like butter, okay? It looks like creamy butter just flowing all over your screen, and that's what I need whenever I'm delivering this footage to clients. I want them to be like, whoa, this looks like a movie. And when you're shooting C-Log 3 or even regular C-Log, and you can get that color grade right, just right, that's how you get more jobs. Keep in mind, this is not coming from just a Canon user, okay? I've owned Sony cameras that I color graded with, Canon cameras. This camera I'm on right now that I'm talking to you directly in is actually a Zcam E2S6. I've also color graded Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K footage. So this is a wide span of just different types of colors I've seen in color grading experience. Good, number three, autofocus. Okay, so with the Canon R, I was just like, this is the best autofocus you can ever ask for. I didn't think that the dual pixel autofocus could could get better. This thing is way better, to the point where even on this camera right now, I'm right here, that I'm pointing at right here, looking at you right in the eyes, I'm actually using the Canon R5 right here. And they have the same autofocus. But the thing about it is, when I used to use the R over here, I would never let this autofocus. No, because it would always be hunting. I couldn't trust it. But it was good. It just wasn't good enough to track me. And that's because I have, you know, darker skin. I mean, it's obvious. Look at me. Come on, guys. I have darker skin. Whatever. All right. And that, you know, Canon, I'm not saying Canon don't know how to program for darker skin. It's just sometimes Canon don't know how to program for darker skin. I'm just saying. But now with the new system, it can follow anybody. It doesn't matter the skin complexion. It doesn't matter, you know, the race or anything. So for me, that was a big thing, is having substantially better autofocus. And I can tell you the R5 and the R6 have such improved autofocus. It's so fast. It doesn't matter where I go. It tracks me. It doesn't matter where anyone goes when I'm doing interviews. It tracks them. I'm just saying the autofocus speed has grown substantially. It's very impressive. Good number 4, and it is the most important good to me, okay, the image quality. I often, and I mean often, get asked about what I'm shooting with when I deliver footage from this camera to any clients, and especially when I deliver to other people that do their shooting, all right, other shooters. When they see this, they're like, what are you shooting with, man? This looks like a cinema camera. And I agree with you, okay? I can show you some footage from this thing, and I'm just like, it looks like something out of a C300 or C500 in a lot of cases. And the reason why I know this looks like a cinema camera is because I've had jobs where I've taken this R6 and I've paired it with that Zcam E2S6 and I've paired it with a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. And when you cut it together, no one tells the difference. The only thing you can tell the difference is, you know, with mirrorless cameras, they have that digital kind of like look and everything. Like, you know that it is like a DSLR or mirrorless camera because it's just really that digital sharpness. You know, you can that's your telltale that it's a mirrorless camera in a lot of cases. But as far as the colors and dynamic range, it was like a perfect match for the cinema cameras that I use sometimes. Listen, this 20.1 megapixel sensor in here is absolutely from the 1DX, okay? And I know that sounds crazy because the 1DX is $6,000 and it shouldn't do that. But the thing about it, when you're buying a 1DX, you're not buying the sensor necessarily. You're buying the body, you're buying the legend, you're buying the name, the notoriety, okay? You're buying an entity at this point, okay? So you're buying the battery grip, the included battery that lasts, you know, an eternity. You're buying the body, you're buying that DSLR old school rugged body. So it's a lot more to it than just a sensor. And Canon is known for reusing sensors, all right? Think about the Canon R. With the Canon R, that was the same 30 megapixel sensor that came from the 5D Mark IV, okay? So they're known for reusing sensors, okay? This ain't the first time they've done this, but I'm telling you, this is ridiculous. You're getting that same sensor. You're not getting the same performance, obviously, that, you know, you get from a 1DX, but you're getting that same kind of image quality that you would get from a 1DX. The colors are great. It's Canon colors. Colors are incredible, all right? You know, you already know that the images are great. The images turn out sharp. Not sharper than the R5, obviously, you know, double the megapixels, but this is a great photo camera too. Images are sharp. The video is sharp. Everything about it when it comes to image quality, I have zero, and I mean zero complaints with it. Okay, now that I'm done gushing about this camera, saying all this stuff, and you think I think it's the perfect camera, it's not perfect. So let's talk about why it's not perfect. The bad. First bad. All right, you got this C1, C2, C3 on here. Why can't you use those custom functions for video? Why? That doesn't make sense. That is a software update waiting to happen. You gave us C-Log 3. I'm like, why will you? This doesn't make sense. When I'm using a Canon R5 and I can hit that mode and I can just go right to each one of the frame rates and settings that I need, it just fits the workflow so beautifully. So when I can't do it on here, it's just like, come on, y'all. Like, come on, y'all. The buttons are right there, and I can only use them for photos. That doesn't make sense to me. Get it together, okay? Another bad, overheating. Surprisingly, the overheating is not in the Hideous. I know you probably thought it was going to be, but the only reason it's not is because my experience with the R6, the way I shoot, I have only experienced overheating one time, but it was like a really hot day, summer day in Tennessee. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. It was really hot outside, all right? So I've only experienced that overheating once, and I was also using 4K 60. And the reason why the overheating is in the bad is because I own two Atomos Ninja 5s and I already had them, okay? So whenever I'm doing like longer form form content, I just use the Atomos Ninja 5s. And then when you use that, you get the ProRes files. We're going to get to that. Okay. The Atomos Ninja 5 is what I use to shoot podcasts. So I just run no record limit. I get it. No 30 minutes. We just run it. Okay. The same way we would do the cinema camera. And with that ProRes file with the Canon R6, it's pretty much like shooting with a C200, C300 that's full frame. It's incredible. Okay. But the overheating is still a bad thing. All right. Just shouldn't do that. You shouldn't even be worried about that. It is a bad thing. Okay. Honorable mention. The 20.1 megapixels. To me, it's an honorable mention for bad. And the reason why is because I shoot photos with the R5 also. So when we're out shooting photos with both the R6 and the R5 and I come home and we're editing and everything, I'm sorry, y'all, that like coming from the Canon R that had that 30 megapixels, like it's hard to go from 30 megapixels down to 20.1. Let me put some respect on it. Let me not forget that 0.1. It's important. It's a substantial difference, okay? Especially now when I'm shooting with the R5, it is a substantial difference between this 20.1 megapixels and that 45 megapixels. So I really wish they would have put the 30 megapixel sensor from the Canon R in here. Would have been amazing. Next time, please, just a little bit, maybe 25 megapixels. Give us that, like just a little bit more, and this thing will be, almost bulletproof, almost. So we're here. We've gone through the good, we've gone through the bad, and now we're down to the hideous. Okay, this hideous is such a big hideous. It counts for maybe 3 or 4. Okay, so it is a big hideous for me. It is the files, the compressed H.265 files. Ridiculous, okay? Especially in 4K, ridiculous files. You cannot edit those files. I have a very strong PC, almost a $3,000 PC build. So after a day of shooting, what I end up doing is I always come home and I transcode the footage. That is the first thing I do when I unload transcode. That is something that I have to do every single time that I wish I did not have to do. Adobe has not optimized its systems to run H.265 files properly. This compression with this much, bit rate that's in this footage, the footage looks amazing. So you already know the bit rate is high. This high bit rate with this compression ratio is just not good. I've not experienced like a full crash of my computer, but I can tell you, like it slows down the process, okay, a lot. And I wish there was a better workaround. Literally, the only workaround is unloading this footage and transcoding it to either ProRes or H.264. That is it. That's the only thing you can do. Now, would I still recommend this camera? Absolutely. And the reason why is because for $2,500, you're getting a lot. You're getting 4K 60, you're getting really high quality 4K, you're getting C-Log 3, C-Log, you're getting good 10-bit colors, great dynamic range, all the way to the point where if I send the footage to someone that even, use something like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, they're like, oh wow, this matches well with it. I'm just saying, this thing is feature packed. Even the 20.1 megapixels as far as the pictures is really good. If that's what you need, it's really good. But for me, I needed something a little bit more powerful, and that is why I got the R5. But other than that, if you're looking for a camera that can do everything, this thing can do everything. Even with the slow motion, that 120 frames per second at 1080p is still super sharp. You can throw it into a 4K timeline and it'll be just fine. So it's not a lot that's wrong with this camera. This camera is becoming one of my favorite cameras to use ever, next to the R5, obviously. But whenever I'm using this camera, believe it or not, especially for video, is actually my A camera. I like the way the video looks out of this camera more than the R5. So that's saying a lot, because the R5 is a strong contender. So we're gonna do another video on the R5. Don't worry about that. That's coming when I hit a year with the R5. It hasn't been a year yet, but I hope this helps. Go ahead and buy this camera. Go ahead and rent this camera, try it out. I guarantee you will not regret it at all. It is a great camera to use. But either way, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe to your boy. Support the channel. Help your guy out, okay? I need the help. Please, thank you. All right, I'll take that. I will see you all down in the comments where we can talk some more about this camera. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.